Hey, so, as you can see, I'm super tired right now. It was like a really, really long weekend, but it was a good weekend. I did the Montello's annual Fish and Fun and was a vendor set up down there. Um, I had like a lineup of people a couple of different days at a couple of different times during the day, waiting for tow readings, so that was pretty cool. Um, Sold out of most of my inventory, so that was kind of cool too. But I am so exhausted right now. Had to go into work today, and as you can see, got a little bit of sun. I work, well, part of the week I work outside, um, and then the other part of another day out of the week I'm inside, and then the rest of the week I'm doing schoolwork, volunteering, doing the family thing and the mom thing, and working here outside of Soulscapes. Um, don't have much of a voice, it's starting to come back, but Saturday I got to see one of my favorite cover bands playing down at Fish and Fun, so that was awesome. Ran into a lot of people actually that I haven't seen in a long time. Several people who knew me, and it honestly took me a little bit to put the face to a name. Um, I have trouble with that. For me, it's either I remember the name and I don't remember the face, or I remember the face and I don't remember the name. 9 out of the 10 times, I remember the face and I forget the name. It used to be opposite, but I think now I just remember faces more, um, because when I'm talking to people, like I don't know, they have like my attention is just completely set on them. Um, and I see a lot more when I look at them. So I see more of what is to them, and so that I think I just remember faces a lot more now than what I used to. I used to remember names better. It's all changed, and now it's like I don't remember the names so much, but I always remember the faces. Um, so anyway, I had meant to get this video posted before Fish and Fun, but that did not happen, so I'm doing it now. Um, and part of the reason I'm doing that is because we actually will be heading into a Mercury retrograde again. This retrograde is going to take place starting tomorrow, actually. And it'll take place in the sign of Gemini. And then it ends June 2nd, and it'll be ending in the sign of Taurus. Um, Personally, a lot of people seem to struggle during these retrogrades. There's a lot of like just intense emotions and stuff that seem to come out to people. They get really overwhelmed, frustrated, stressed out, like they feel like everything in their life is falling apart. For me personally, like I don't I don't really get that problem with a retrograde. I actually get very motivated to do stuff, and they say, like you should just lie low and, take it easy and don't make decisions and stuff. But so far, every time that I have, like, started something during a retrograde, it's gone really well for me. So I think it really just depends on the person and how you perceive the retrograde being for you. For me, retrogrades are like one of the perfect times to dive in deep and do a little shadow work. I honestly feel like I really succeed at healing from some of those, like, inner demons and stuff during a Mercury retrograde, whereas other people, that might not be the most beneficial for them. So again, I think it all just depends on who you are, and how you take to retrogrades and stuff. I always tend to be like opposite than everybody else. Like, for me, I felt all of this like tension and frustration and everything a few weeks ago prior to the retrograde, and I get excited for them because I know that all of that tense feeling and just those high emotions and stuff are going out the window for me. Um, so I'm like opposite than other people. Um, so anyway, with that retrograde coming on, there is also tends to be people that um, they end up having a lot of like triggers with emotions and stuff, and they find it difficult to just kind of um, set their emotions to the side, I guess, and not feed into them. We all have triggers. We have them. We get them all the time. It's not really anything new. It just seems like during these retrogrades, the triggers are a bit more intense for people than they normally are. So I wanted to talk a little bit about triggers. Triggers are just things that like they get our defenses up. They're things that like trigger really strong emotions of passion, and they're things that they bring our opinions and our viewpoint to the front line. And sometimes the triggers can cause a lot of arguments and negative behaviors towards each other. Um, People, from what I've noticed, just observing, and how people tend to be towards me when we're getting close to a retrograde or we're in one, is that I notice there's a lot of mocking, there's a lot of ridicule, there's a lot of name calling, and there's a lack of acceptance among people. And it's usually temporary and stuff, and things kind of smooth over on their own afterwards. But I just noticed that happens a lot. What I find is interesting about it is that, when it comes to triggers, if you've ever shared your opinion on something and you've had someone lash out negatively um, towards you with like a different viewpoint, then you'll probably be able to relate to what I'm saying here. So when this other person is passionately triggered, there's a reason for it. And most of the time, when they reach the level of mockery or anger or ridicule towards your opinion or towards your behavior or toward whatever it is that you said or did, when it increases those emotions so much and they become so intense that they actually lash out at you with them, they try to make you like the butt of their joke or something, trying to say that your opinion, that your viewpoint or whatever is not valid, or that it's stupid or whatever. That recently happened to me, like just like a week or two ago or whatever. And the thing is, what I noticed about it was that to me at least, what I was feeling was that those people really had some inner demons that they really needed to heal from, whereas they were sitting there mocking me, and kind of trying to make my viewpoint look stupid in the eyes of others, and trying to kind of bring me down from it. And it didn't happen because I know better than to feed into triggers and that energy from other people. So to me, it was just like, okay, like whatever, like I shared my viewpoint, my opinion, you're sharing yours, cool, like we disagree, but whatever, it didn't bring me down, and I didn't feel the need that I had to like, come back at them and defend or validate my viewpoint, because it was my viewpoint. It's already valid, period. Just like theirs is valid. It's just that I didn't feel the need that I had to like argue with them and like go to their level of, pointing out contradictions that, in statements that they were making, or throwing things in their face that I knew about, that would have made their viewpoint kind of hypothetical. I didn't feel the need that I needed to do that. So, and a lot of that is because those areas, those demons that we all have, I've healed from those demons that, correlated with that area, whereas they still needed to work on that. So, most of the time when they reach that level of that intense passion, that mockery, that anger, whatever, just those intense emotions and feelings that come up, and they're not able to accept and appreciate your viewpoint, it's because more or less you just kind of brought a part of their shadow self to the surface, and they were kind of forced to acknowledge that, something that they weren't prepared for. You planted a seed, and one that they were not prepared to have to water. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, bringing those triggers to the forefront can actually be a good thing, because the shadow self is not necessarily a bad thing either, but it can be very uncomfortable to face it. The negative reactions that we have to the difference in opinions, and the difference in behaviors, is usually accompanied by feelings of guilt, denial, or just unacknowledging the questioning of your own belief. Usually if you feel like you have got to make a mockery of the person, or you have got to, you get really super angry or whatever about it. I mean, you can't just state your viewpoint and go, but you've got to keep going on and on about it and arguing and all of this stuff. A lot of times it's because you've brought up this position within them where they feel like they have to defend their status. They've got to defend their status no matter what. And you kind of brought into question something that they say they believe, but maybe are actually a little bit untrusting of in the first place. So they don't really have that full amount of self-trust going on in that viewpoint. Because if they did, they'd state their viewpoint without anger, without ridicule, without mockery. They'd state it and they'd leave. When they don't do that, and they really have to try and make you out to look stupid or whatever, or try to, even bring things in that are completely unrelated to what you're talking about in the first place. Those are all signs of just inner demons that those people have to face. So, really don't take it personally. And if that's happened to you, then actually, I want to congratulate you, because you just unknowingly caused those people or that person to face a part of themselves that they were keeping in hiding. You brought that to the surface. And honestly, that's a good thing, because we have to engage in shadow work all the time. It's a continuous thing that we are constantly doing. So when these people react negatively, it's their shadow self that is refusing to be silenced, and it's refusing to be hidden anymore. So it's an opportunity for growth on their part. Now if you were to lash back out at them, then you need to pay attention as to why you're doing it. You need to pay attention to why your emotions are so intense and what it is exactly that you're feeling. Are you feeling anger or sadness or guilt, or, you need to pay attention to that. Really just be mindful of it and be aware of that. When your shadow self, has already been faced, acknowledged, and defeated, then their lashing out won't trigger you to do the same. But if it does, and you catch yourself doing that, then just be mindful and pay attention to the reasons why you're doing that. What part of your shadow self is coming out of the hiding? And why did their negativity cause you to do the same thing? Why did you go to their same level? When it's healed, you'll be able to just state your viewpoint and your difference in opinion without the use of mockery or anger or ridicule or or any of those negative emotions. You won't feel so triggered, so to speak. You'll understand that it's all basically part of their shadow self that's emerging, and you'll understand that they've just been put in an uncomfortable position of growth and self-realization that they may not have even known existed in the first place. You'll have that understanding, and you'll be able to be a little more sympathetic and empathetic towards them in relating. So you can tell a whole lot about how much a person is battling with their shadow self by how they react to things that trigger them. If they can, respectfully express their differences without making somebody the butt of their joke, without trying to bring somebody down, pay attention to the words that they use, pay attention to the body language. When it's online or something, it's a little harder to tell the body language, but you can pick out a lot in what somebody writes or somebody says, the words that they use. We can all pick out a tone of voice in writing. So, if you're reading something and, read between the lines and see what's actually there, because you can really just tell an awful lot about a person, and how much they're actually suffering internally by how they are reacting to the things that trigger them. If they're able to respectfully state their differences and all of that without all of those intense and passionate emotions, they really don't need to heal any shadow part of themselves, because they already have. They're not being triggered in that way. So like that shadow side is already kind of healed. They've, and there's always others. There's always other shadow sides. I'm just talking about like if something you do or something you say really triggers somebody to be that way. That's part of their shadow self emerging, and it's something that needs to be addressed. But they, you can't do it for them. It's something they got to do themselves. If they feel the need that they need to question you, if they feel the need that they need to demand that you are wrong, if they feel the need that they need to, call you negative names or just make you look stupid or try to make you look stupid, they've just proven to the world, and to themselves, although they may not recognize it right away, but they have proven it to themselves too. It's just a matter of being mindful and being able to recognize those things. But anyway, they've proven that they have a deep, unhealed battle within themselves, so you can't really take it personally. All you did is unknowingly call out a demon. And now it's just up to them to acknowledge it, face it, and defeat it. So like I said, with this Mercury retrograde thing on, you're going to be bound to be facing some situations like that. You're going to see it all over the place, and you're going to see a lot of people complaining about this and that, and, this going wrong, that's going wrong. You're going to see a lot of, tension and arguing among people, because that tends to be what happens. You're going to see people getting frustrated because their phone isn't working right, or, just little minuscule things that really don't matter in life, but it's going to really trigger them. And in those moments, it's important to kind of be aware that, not only is that kind of happening because of the Mercury retrograde, but also it's intense for those people because those shadow parts of them, those shadow selves, are kind of coming to the surface, and it happens a lot during a Mercury retrograde. So just, try and stay mindful within yourself, and try not to let those little things like that get to you. Try not to take these things personally, because it's not about you, it's about them. Try to clear your energies and stuff. Mercury retrogrades, they can be hell on earth for a lot of people. And for other people like me, they are like absolutely wonderful. I love them. I look forward to them all the time. Most people do not. Yeah, I have moments of feeling overwhelmed, but it's nothing different than any other day, really, for me. I like to engage in deep inner child healing, energy cleansings. I like to engage in a lot of shadow work and things like that during a Mercury retrograde. I like to dive in deeper because for me, I'm not afraid to pull out those negative parts of me. I'm not afraid to pull out those shadow parts that are kind of in hiding and face them and recognize them and heal from them. I actually look forward to that because it makes me a better person, like continuously. Every time I do that, I get a feeling of empowerment. I get a feeling of just ultimate fulfillment, that I just defeated one of my biggest demons, and they come out all the time, and we're constantly getting more of those inner demons, and the more you're working at healing from them, the easier it gets to deal with things like triggers and things that just kind of don't go your way. It gets so much easier to deal with that stuff. And, so again, just, try to stay aware that when you're seeing these things that are most likely going to be taking place and you're most likely going to be seeing them, just try to stay mindful and understand that what you're seeing is a lot of shadow self coming from multiple people, lots of different inner demons that are being thrown out there on the front line. And, encourage these people to try and heal from them, if you can. Lead them by doing it yourself. Be that inspiration to the other people, that you can be respectful, during disagreements, that those little problems that arise are really so tiny in the grand scheme of life. They really don't matter. So just try to be that inspiration, keep your energy pure and, just keep it whole and keep cleansing it, clear it out all the time. You don't want to be harboring all this negative energy because that will build up into a part of an inner demon in itself. So, always just try to clear out that energy, do some smudging if you want to, do some meditation, just find some time to take care of yourself, your physical self, your mental self, and your spiritual self. Take time, when it comes to self-care. Self-care is not just a physical thing. It is physical, it is mental, it is spiritual. And when it comes to self-care, you need to be finding time to take care of all of that. I know it sounds like a lot, but when you find a method that works for you, you'll find that not only is it taking care of yourself physically, but also mentally and spiritually all at the same time. For me, coming out here to Soulscapes, this is part of my self-care. I like to try and come out here at least a couple times a day. Sometimes there's days where I don't get to at all, and then I try to make up for that on another day. But just coming out here and being present with my surroundings, rearranging soulscapes, writing, painting, whatever, just sitting in the quiet, is all self-care to me. It's giving me that me time, and it's taking care of my physical well-being as well as my mental well-being and my spiritual well-being all at the same time. A lot of times it's hard to practice self-care when you're in the same environment. So I do encourage you, if you can, set up a little area like in your house or something that you can retreat to that's for self-care. If you live somewhere where you can, set up a place outside, like just a favorite area out in your yard away from the noise and the chaos or whatever, try to do that. Try to incorporate that into your life somehow. If you're nearby soulscapes, I open this for people to just come into and basically do the same thing I do. They can paint, they can write, they can draw, they can just pop on, listen to music, they can do yoga, they can lay on the Reiki table and just relax, whatever, it doesn't matter. They can meditate. And, I open this up for people to use to do that themselves. And, just for your own awareness, anytime there is somebody in here, including myself, I do cleanse the area before and after. And I do that with smudging, and I do that with meditation, and I do that with blessings. So I have a specific blessing that I personally state. I wrote it and I state it before I come into Soulscapes and when I leave Soulscapes. And then I smudge as I'm doing that. I also spray rose water, which I have on hand all the time, and that is always sprayed before and after anybody ever comes in here. And that includes myself too, because I hold my own energies, and when people come in here, I want this to be a pure energy. I don't want my energy interfering with their energy, if that makes sense. So that's all. I just wanted to talk a little bit about triggers because we have that Mercury retrograde coming up, and we're going to see people being triggered. And I did not get a chance to share this before the weekend, so just hopping on there and sharing that now.